Hey, welcome back to the homestead. So last year I did sweet potatoes and they were awesome. One of the easiest things you could ever want to grow, and they grow a ton of food. So we're doing it again this year. I have a little bit different approach from what we did last year, and so I'll show you what I'm doing this year. I think we're going to have a great harvest at the end of the season. I do still have right behind me some of what was left over from last year still growing over there, so let me show you that real fast. All right, so what you're seeing here all around this oak tree, these are sweet potato vines that came from what I'm gonna show you that I'm doing right now over here in this other spot from last year that were left over that I never harvested, and they're gonna grow another crop this year. And so sweet potato is just amazing stuff. Great for ground cover if you just want to use it as ground cover. It puts off some really pretty flowers as well, but also gives great food too. All right, so let me show you how I'm doing it this year. All right, so what you see in front of you here, this is going to be my sweet potato patch for this year. And so what I did is I came in and I rototilled this space where I wanted to have the sweet potatoes growing. I put down on the ground a lot of the leftover from last year's harvest that we hadn't eaten, and those are starting to put out sprouts, or in sweet potato terms what we call slips, and that's the green leaves that they're starting to grow off of there. Okay, and so what we do is we're going to pluck those off. We throw them in some water, let them start to grow roots out, and once they grow roots out, we put them back in the soil. And so you can see I've got a little bit of bare soil behind those sweet potatoes. That's ready for me to plant into. And then back there under the weed barrier, we got a whole bunch more soil that's ready. So as I get more and more slips that come off and are rooted and ready to go, I can peel back that weed barrier and put the slips in the ground. And hopefully by the end of the season, we'll have a whole big area there that's growing out new potatoes. But they also they grow really fast. They spread those vines out a long ways, and so even with just a few of them in there, it will eventually take over the whole thing. All right, so let me get a little closer here, and we'll show you how this works. Okay, so first of all, let me show you what these look like when they've got some roots growing on them. This is a sweet potato slip right here, and this is what's going to go in the ground. All right, just have a little bit of water in here. Okay, so to get these, let's grab a empty one of these out. Okay, so now on the sweet potatoes here where this foliage is growing off, we can actually just come along in here and pluck this off, but we want to get it as close to the potato itself as possible. Okay, we can just pluck it off there. This one's actually already got some roots starting, but you don't always get that, and that's fine if you don't. You might want to, if you got some really low little leaflets coming here, just pluck those off, because that's a spot where roots can grow out of. Okay, pull a few of those off of there and stick it in some water. Now it takes about a week for it to grow enough roots that you would want to put it in the ground. You don't want to use water that's chlorinated. I use water from my fish pond, that works perfectly. But even if you just have, some kind of filtered water, or if you don't have filtered water, you can take your tap water and just let it sit for about 24 hours for the chlorine and chloramines to dissipate. But after about a week, you'll have roots to where you can put that in. These things just keep putting up new slips all the time. And so, eventually the potato will rot here in the ground. But in the meantime, it's going to put off tons of these slips, and you can just keep coming, plucking them off, throwing them in there. And as soon as they've got roots, go put them in the ground. So there's one that we didn't really get any roots on, but that's okay because we got it nice and close from the potato. Okay, and you can see, maybe you can see if I get really close here. I don't know if it's going to get fuzzy, but anyways, there's lots of places for roots to come off of if we just pluck a few of these back. Okay, stick that in some water, and boom. Okay, so these other ones, let's go put these in the ground. Now, I am no fan of tilling the soil, but for this particular incident, it made sense to do it. And man, once the soil's tilled, of course, it couldn't be easier to plant into it. Okay, so we just gotta pull back a little space here and put it in the ground. It's that simple. All right, so we'll water those in. This being uncovered like this, that soil gets really hot. So we want to make sure we keep it good and moist so it stays cooled. And you could throw it on some wood chips or something as well, some kind of mulch to keep it cooler too, and I'll probably do that. So you want to keep those moist, but you also want to keep the potatoes that are growing your slips moist. It makes them think that they're in the ground and in the growing season. And that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to trick them into thinking that they're going to grow out new vines. All right, and as they're doing that, you come in along and pluck them away. So, man, it's just so super easy, and it's a great way for you to just keep growing food year after year after year by doing this. Now, in case you're wondering, like, okay, well, how do you get these potatoes to put out these slips to start growing those, right? Well, all it takes is sunlight, maybe a little bit of water. Like you can see on this one right here, it's just got those tiny little bits that it's putting out there, and those are gonna grow into something like that, and they're gonna be something that you can pluck off of there. Just needs a little bit of time, a little bit of sunlight, and just like any other potato that has eyes that start to sprout, it's the same idea. Alright, so I hope this video was helpful for anybody who's thinking about growing sweet potatoes. Maybe at least give you 1 or 2 pointers. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.